Good afternoon. This is your second math video for Tuesday, May 12th. And we are currently on page 912. We're almost done kind of wrapping up, and then we're going to move to our lesson 3. So this is one of the problems that you were supposed to finish yesterday, and I wanted to take a really quick look at it. So first off, let's look at each triangle, and let's look at the shapes and angles. So our sides and angles. How many sides do you see on this one that are congruent? 2. Now we just learned the definition for these. Do you remember what it was? Isosceles. And actually, if it has 2 congruent sides, it also has 2 congruent angles. The angles that are next to each other are going to be congruent. What about this one? How many sides are congruent? 2. Can you find the 2 angles that are congruent? What about this one? None. You can measure these, but really your eye should be able to start seeing most of these without measuring. What about the last one? How many congruent sides on that one? 3. And if the sides are congruent, the angles are also congruent. And there's a really neat trick. If we know that every triangle equals 180 degrees, and I know all 3 of these angles are exactly the same, how could I find out how much is in each angle? Divide by 3. So in an equilateral triangle, all 3 sides equal, every angle is 60 degrees. It's always the same. All right, now which one doesn't belong? Hopefully you said this one. Now, can we think of a reason? It says to explain, which means we have to have a sentence. So what do the other 3 have in common? They all have at least 2 sides and angles that are congruent. We're going to use our little congruent symbol. All right, 16. How are all triangles alike? Now, hopefully you should have already answered these. You could have put lots of different things. They're all called polygons. They have 3 sides. They have 3 angles. They're straight sides. How are they different? How can triangles be different? Well, they have all different sides and all different angles. All right, we're going to go ahead and move. I think we're ready now into our lesson 3. We already went our vocabulary, so this is going to go pretty quickly. I'm going to get my highlighter out. So we're on page 915. Would you mind shutting your door for me real quick? That's okay. All right, so we can classify triangles by using one of the more of the following attributes. Remember that was that vocabulary word we used, which just means using their sides or their angles. And this is the only polygon that we can classify in 2 different ways. Luckily, the other ones are one classification. The triangles are kind of the hardest. So this is really hard to see on mine. I can't see all the numbers, so I don't know what that number is that goes there. But I do know it's no sides the same. So how many sides are congruent? 0. So if it has at least 2 sides congruent, it's isosceles. All sides congruent, equilateral. No sides congruent, scalene. Now an equilateral triangle has at least 2 sides congruent. So an equilateral is also considered an isosceles. That's a little hard to understand because it's not that it has to have exactly two sides. It says at least, and that's a point I usually forget. So what type of triangle is found up here? All sides, two sides, all sides, two sides, or no sides? No sides. Scalene. All right. How many angles of the triangle are acute? And again, this is pretty hard to see, but if you look on your, hush Simone, if you look on your protractor, let's see. Remember, this is your little dot. So that would be what type of an angle? A right angle. Remember, we put our hole over the dot. We hold with our one hand and slide up and down with our other. And if you look, there's lines right here that you can see that tell you that it's perpendicular. So if it points at the 5 or if it points at the 3, you know that that line is a perpendicular line. So you don't always have to like go all the way up here. You can measure it. And remember, these lines, so if it makes a 90 degrees, they're called perpendicular. We'll add this word another day. And it means they're 90 degrees. All right, so looking at this one, I'm going to go ahead and test it. I'm pretty sure it's not. No, it's way less than 90 degrees. So how many of the triangle's angles are acute? 3. How many are obtuse? None. How many are right? None. So this type of triangle would be considered an isosceles acute triangle. So isosceles, because two sides are the same. Acute, because all 3 angles are acute or small. So let's go ahead and highlight our vocabulary. We said a right one has at least one that's 90 degrees. This one has one that's more than 90, but less than 180. Remember, if it's 180, it's a straight line. And this one has all are less than 90. They don't have to be equal, just less than 90. So the triangle up above is an acute triangle. All right, so we're going to look at our triangle down here. First off, we're going to look at our sides. How many sides are congruent? 2. So if it has 2 or more sides congruent, what do we call that? Remember my trick with the S's. Isosceles. Look at your angles, and I do it in 3 steps. Does it have an obtuse angle? No. Does it have a right angle? No. Then it's automatically acute. So this is an acute scalene, it looks like, and this is an obtuse isosceles. You see how it has that really big angle there? All right, let's do a little bit of practice. We're going to do one of each, and you're going to complete the rest on your own. Determine the number of congruent sides. So how many congruent sides are there in this triangle? None. And if it has no congruent sides, what do we call it? Scalene. All right, now we're going to do this one based on angles. Just making sure here. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Get my ruler out. These angles actually look pretty congruent. I better check them. All right, so we're going to put our circle on top of our hole. I'm going to use this to go to the side and see where it hits. And it's going to hit, we find our 0, and we start counting up, and it is 3 lines after the 30, 31, 32, 33. All right, now I'm going to move it to the other side. I'm going to move my protractor till it's straight. I'm going to come over here and use my ruler. And we're going to start at 0 and count all the way up, and it is right before 40. All right, so none of the sides, remember we said you can use those little arcs to show that they're congruent or not congruent. None of the angles are the same. So it is let's look at our chart. Oh, it wants us to do this one based on angles. So we better check this one. So those were less than 90. And this one is greater than 90. See it a little under 110. So remember, if it has even one obtuse angle, it is obtuse. Now this one we don't have to measure because you remember what that little box shows? How many degrees is that? 90. And what do we call a 90-degree angle? Right angle. And we said if a triangle even has one right angle, we're going to call it a right triangle. See, I'm using my notation. All right, so now I need to draw an equilateral triangle. Now you could actually get your ruler out and you could get your protractor out and draw it, or we can just freehand it. And watch what I'm going to do to show it's equilateral. Boom, boom, boom. All 3 sides equal. Bam, bam, bam. All 3 angles equal. You should try to draw one. It's pretty difficult to draw using a ruler and a protractor. All right, so please complete your 4 questions on that page as well as your 4 questions on this page. And we're going to start here tomorrow with our discussion, and we will talk about our number 13 and our number 14. I'm actually going to keep on going on this video, and I'll just trim them together. Don't forget, you have your brain pop video you can watch if you'd like, and then also homework if you'd like some extra practice. There's only a few questions on the homework. All right, now I didn't put this on your assignment, but I would definitely do your check your progress. And I'm going to put it on here so I remember to do it. Check your progress. And I will post a key for these later in the week. All right, so we're going to move on to lesson 4. Lesson 4 is kind of a hands-on as much as hands-on can be on a video, but hands-on exploring different polygons. And we were focused on triangle. Hush, girls. Go. Hush. We were focused on 3-sided polygons, which are triangles. But this time we're going to move to quadrilaterals. So we are on page 923. Hush, girls. Go. Go. So we have quadrilaterals, which are a polygon with 4 sides and 4 angles. And these are all examples of different polygons. So which